couldn't ask for it any better.
No, you definitely could not. We saw Method Black, like we said, completely dismantle Tempo Storm, but Ascendant is a different beast in this Rogue Mage Priest matchup. And we talked about how bad this matchup can snowball. We'll have to see which team gets an ideal opener. Both rows going to be charging in right away.
Yeah, actually a sap on Morrow. This is going to give a bit of an advantage and edge to Method Black as they can now cleanly set up. Doesn't look like they're capitalizing on the sap though. They're just waiting it out, but now they have combat. No polymorph DR either for Morrow now as we even out. The Invises are going to be ending shortly, and as soon as they do, I can imagine the Rogues are going to immediately jump onto the Mages who are in center field. Acro Waz, they have to make a decision. Kidney shots onto the Priest as both teams identically mirror each other. Icy Veins used as well in the opener. This could be an explosive start.
Yep, Morrow uses the Temporal Shield to deflect some of this damage. Raikou does as well, but it gets dispelled off. Icy Veins used by both mages here. Polymorph on Morrow. Raikou playing a little bit defensive here. Maybe just wanting to slow down some of the offense coming in from Ascendant, but really not too much damage has come out for either team.
All right, we see a blind on Ratipai. He's going to use his trinkets to get out of that blind. Not used just yet for Waz. Both these teams use their hardest hitting cooldowns right off the bat, and nothing even happened. Now a kidney shot on Chaz. Here's some pressure onto Raikou. Caught into the cheap shots. Chaz into the poly. Mind control on Waz. Triple crowd control for Ascendant. This could easily be the ice block force from Raikou. They are going to drop the mind control. Potential mass dispel. Not able to find it, unfortunately. Ratipai getting interrupted. The ice block is going to sit. Chaz is going to recover. Trinket now traded out for blind. There's a lead for Ascendant.
Yeah, there's an opportunity now if they can get another polymorph onto Chaz. They could be able to take down Raikou before that second ice block gets off cooldown from that debuff that they have. Fear now onto Chaz. Raikou gets counterspelled. Acro all over him. He gets Death Grip to safety. Was taking a little bit of damage though. Ascendant has big pressure. Morrow into the cheap shot. Was trying to respond here, a little bit of crowd control from himself. Full polymorph onto Ratipai. He actually uses the premonition, very nicely done. Raikou gets to follow up polymorph, but Ratipai deflects that very nicely.
Yeah, but Chaz moves in for a Psychic Scream. Acro's in a poly. It's a 3-on-1 on Morrow. He ice blocks at full HP, and then ultimately got mass dispelled on it. He's going to be on hypothermia. Ratipai trying to pick him back up, using that human racial to get out of a stun. Morrow getting polymorphed away. Ratipai really wants to try and get a fear on Chaz very shortly. Waz looking for a re-stealth. He manages to get it, gets pulled out. He's trying to take advantage of the subterfuge. Actually saps Morrow out of the poly. It's not going to be too much. Morrow, preemptive temp shield. Chaz needs to get that off. They managed to purge it off with the poly on Ratipai. 8 seconds away from that trinket. Morrow on the run. Sap out of the poly. Waz on fire. Double fear secured. Will Morrow block? Yes. Ice block force. Mass dispel time. Morrow completely alone in a 3v1. Ratipai barely getting out of that second stream. Connects the penance. Stabilizing Morrow. But now advantage in favor of Method Black.
Yeah, Raikou doing a really good job in this matchup, controlling up Acro, spamming out the polymorphs, and now spamming up Morrow, controlling him. So Ascendant doesn't have an opportunity to get their offensive go. Kidney shot now onto Chaz. Morrow, unfortunately, not going to be able to find the crowd control. Big damage now onto Morrow in the cheap shot. No CC break for Ratipai, actually. Morrow's going to be able to survive. Ratipai holding onto his trinket there. There's a fear, though, pushing in from Chaz. Ratipai has to trade out his trinket for that. Now susceptible to a full blind a little bit later on. Counter fear now onto Chaz as Morrow stabilizes, but still, Ascendant not able to find damage so far in this matchup.
There's no opening for Ascendant right now. It should just be an easy KO with a blind on Ratipai, and they're just waiting to do that. In the meantime, Ascendant are doing whatever they can get to the second ice block. They managed to get it very early on. I mean, Raikou commits this because he knows they just win the game with blind, and there's the blind. He goes out of the block. He knows immediately this is the win condition. Poly's out of the blind. Morrow in a 3-on-2, but he's not able to do it, I don't think. He spell steals a shield. Temp shield's about to go off. That's going to heal him for a lot, I think. No, not at all, actually. Shields are absorbing damage. That should have been the win right there. Acro gets a sap on Waz, and suddenly Raikou's on the back foot.
Yeah, Acro did a great job blinding up Waz. He had no trinket, followed up by the sack, and that is going to allow Ascendant to survive that setup. Get a little bit aggressive here on a Raikou, who does not have an ice block either. Full fear now on a Chaz. Kidney shot on Ratipai. Acro getting controlled up. Nicely done by Raikou as he does everything he can to keep himself alive in this situation. Big swap now over on Acro. The Frozen Orb gets dropped. Can they take him down? And they ultimately do. Method Black changing up their target and taking game number 1.
And changing up their entire strat, right? We see them in that first match where they go up against each other. Method Black decides, hey, look, we're going to try to countercomp. They try it all the way to the bitter end, and that end was quite brutal. I mean, they get 3-0'd, they get knocked down to the lower bracket. Now they get some steam themselves, getting a very dominant performance, and they're back and they say, let's do it. Let's mirror. The question is, Zico, do we expect to mirror all the way? Even within that, you could see the butterfly effect. Once again, it could just go either way. So many different potential moments where either team could win.
Absolutely. I mean, I think for sure we're going to see, all the way to Game 7. RMP mirrors the whole way, and this game was so close. I mean, here Morrow, he is so close to actually winning the game here. The polymorph that happened onto Chaz right there got premonition, and had it landed full, that would have for sure been Chaz trinket. And as you can see, Riker has no ice block, so Ascendant could have won pretty much on the next setup had they forced a trinket right there. So it could have gone either way, and I think the reason why they would even have to do that was because of that blind that Acro had to do to save his mage earlier. So it can go either way when these two guys play, when these two teams play each other, and I mean,
we've already seen
your
that.
guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. I mean, we've already seen that. That's like the main thing when we sit here now and we predict. It's like what usually happens in this series. I mean, we see these little trades go back and forth, and it's usually just one of the best parts is actually just getting to watch actually the last game and see where it went wrong for one of the teams.
Yeah, and I mean, Method Black as well. They definitely had a weak opener to that game. They were on the back foot. Riker had to use Ice Block immediately, but then Maru also used his Ice Block a little bit too preemptively, I think, at one point. They didn't really have CC on Ratapai, and there was an Ebon Ball being casted, and he just blocked it. But I think that they maybe used a little bit too early there, but aside from that, it's more about Ascendant typically finding their momentum in the start, but then they have this period where nothing is really happening, and Waz is just stopping all setups, and then eventually Method Black, overtakes them in the cooldown trade.
Yeah, one thing Morrow does is he's always preemptive with his running. He realizes Ratapai is going to get crowd control, so he runs away. And as a response, Method Black, they do the exact right thing. They make these swaps on Acro, and I think that's why so often we see Acro actually going down when he doesn't have his trinket available. They just say, forget Morrow. He's behind the pillar. He's not going to be able to help. You can make that hero swap onto the rogue and take him down. So maybe Morrow needs to be a little bit more careful, but it's kind of like you're danged if you do and you're danged if you don't.
Yeah, exactly. And Morrow was the MVP of the day, Zico, from yesterday. What does he have to do here to keep that title, to truly be the MVP of the entire tournament?
Well, in my opinion, usually when these two teams play, it's if we go player by player, it's kind of even, I would say, between Ratapai and Chaz. Chaz usually a little bit more on the defensive side. Ratapai usually does a little bit more damage and is a little bit more aggressive. You will find Ratapai trinketing offensive to get fierce and things like that sometimes, which you typically don't see Chaz doing. And with the rogues, I think that I would give Waz the edge a little bit over Acro in these mirrors. But when it comes to mages, I actually think Maru usually gets the better end of Raikou. Now, in this particular game, Raikou was schooling Maru really, really hard, because every single time Acro was, every single time Method Black landed a setup, they would get the setup, they would force a cooldown, a trinket, whatever. Then, as soon as it's Ascendant's turn to do the setup, Raikou would consistently polymorph up Maru, preventing him from being able to get that crowd control, and also making it very easy for Waz to reach Maru. So, Maru actually didn't polymorph Raikou at all in that game, and it's super, super important to do in these RMP mirrors, to polymorph the other mage when it's their turn to go, to slow him down, to stop him from essentially getting the setup and stalling long enough for you to get another setup. So Maru just needs to stop getting schooled and start schooling again, I guess.
Well, the crazy thing is, I mean, we look at a few of the tournaments and we go, okay, are we even going to see Raikou? They don't really need to break him out, and Swapsy and Waz just really playing that Pyro composition a whole bunch, and we've just seen that left and right. All of a sudden, this tournament, we get to see Raikou a little bit more, and I feel like Raikou has really kicked it up a notch. Obviously, he's never been slacking too much, but I feel like he probably just hates being on the bench. I don't know what it is. All of a sudden, I feel like he has that fire that you were talking about with Waz. I feel like Raikou has also been bringing that. Will that intensity be enough for Method Black to really grab this one by the throat, be able to take down this mirror matchup that has been so back and forth in the past? Will Method Black get to prove that they are the better rogue mage at this mirror?
This is really the best high-quality arena you could ask for if you're watching at home. Both of these teams are easily the best rogue mage priests in the world right now, going head-to-head. If you haven't told your friends to tune in, tell them right now.
Yep, once again, we'll have to see how these rogues decide to open up. Actually, we saw in the last game, Waz landed that sap on Amaro, but it was actually right as Amaro went into invisibility. So, like we saw, he couldn't capitalize on that, unfortunately. Waz in a decent position right now. Ratapai is opting to sit back. Chaz taking the center field on that center team. He's going to be throwing out a few dispels onto Ratapai to get himself to combat.
All right, both priests trying to sneak in on each other, maybe purge off some shields as the mage's invises are going to be ending. Maro gets combat on Chaz to deny a sap. Frostbolt trades in midfield to build up icicles. Maro looking for polys as both teams mirror each other. It's a race, all cooldowns blown from both sides. Acro pre-cloaks the cheap shot, expecting a swap. Maro now getting bursted. Temp shields blinks away. Waz all over him. Maro Frost Nova blinks away. Waz vanishes out. Temp shield will explode. Ratify gets psychic screamed away, but Waz is just going for damage, trying to get a block off the back of this crowd control. They get it. Will Chaz land the Master Spell? Doesn't look like he's even going to go for it. Method Black get a lead.
Yeah, Maro jumps out of that ice block very, very quickly, wants to get aggressive onto Raikou, but Raikou, once again, he's just kiting away. Acro not there to get the follow-up stuns. Raikou just line of sighting him. Waz now all over Maro once again. Chaz into the kidney shot, into the fear. Do they have the damage to take down Raikou? Force out that ice block. Smoke bomb gets dropped by Waz. Very nice. That means Maro's not going to be able to get any damage out onto Raikou, so that was a smart play there by Waz.
All right, we see a kidney shot on Ratify. Chaz is moving in to follow up if they can't get the Ring of Frost, but they get it, and Maro's in trouble. That's the second block. Master Spell instantly. Maro temp shields. He's on the run. Acro doing everything to get Maro off of Maro, or to get Waz off of Maro. Maro's hanging on by a thread. There's really not a lot left to go for the TR blind to find a kill, and Waz knows exactly how much time he needs to get a kill. Method Black are on fire in this mirror, leading the series now 2-0.
Honestly, this is like what we saw against Temple Storm the other day. It just seems like from start to finish, they're just in the driver's seat. The other team doesn't have an opportunity to really get aggressive.
I think that we have seen them look really good in the mirror recently. We have. I'm actually standing right now. I didn't even notice. We have seen them look really good in the mirror recently. Sid, I mean, the thing is, though, is we've seen these guys when they pair off against each other in the mirror. We've seen somebody take the 2-0 lead in the past. That's not necessarily enough to do it. How do you think Ascendant starts to beat what Method has been dishing out?
I mean, I think it's just the Waz effect. I think I want to call it that, the Waz effect. You just put Waz on a team, all of the energy that he brings, like he wants to be a superstar, like he wants to be the best World of Warcraft player in the world, period. So that's kind of infectious. It just leaks out onto the rest of the team, and then they just build off of that, and they just swing momentum heavily in their favor when they get the Waz effect.
Okay, so Waz is leaking. Is that enough? Is the Waz effect going to be enough for you, Zico?
I mean, it's the Method Black effect. I mean, look at the pre-Master Spell, the kicks coming out, the stuns, look at Chaz waiting for the re-CC before he drops that fear. I mean, all of these guys are just playing phenomenally. Raikou as well, blinking forward, barely getting in line to get that Ebon Bolt off. Cross CC across the whole team. Waz blinding Ratify's trinket. I mean, there's so much stuff going on from all of the three players. But yes, the Waz effect is definitely what leads the charge for these guys and what kind of enables it to happen.
All right, so the Waz effect definitely going to be a factor. How crazy would it be if we just see a complete flip? But just want to remind you guys, this is not match point. We are going to be having this best of 7 here. A 4-0 would be absolutely insane coming out, and we can expect mirrors all the way through. How do you expect them to play now that they are moving to Dollar and Sewers?
Well, Method Black is on fire, quite frankly. Like, they have just destroyed Ascendant in these last few games. But like I said earlier, this is kind of what we saw or 2 weekends ago in the last Cup, where we saw Ascendant dominate Method Black. Then Method Black struck back, tied up the series. So I definitely think Ascendant still has it in them. They just need to make sure that they're focusing up, making little adjustments to the strategy, because that's really what it comes down to.
Well, usually Method Black is a team in general that does a very good job of turning things around and finding momentum. It's like, okay, yeah, you beat me once. I see exactly how you're playing, and now I'm going to counter it. They don't have to do that now. I think they're an incredibly scary team when they get early wins. I think that this momentum is going to allow them to put on even more pressure. I feel like Method Black right now, I mean, obviously with 2 wins, but I feel like they are one of the most difficult teams to beat when they already start off this strong.
For sure they are, but I think right now it's just Raikou is just having a really good performance in these 2 matches so far, and honestly, Maro just needs to step up to the task because we know that he can do it. We've seen him do it many times, so for this matchup to get a little bit closer, I think it just comes down to landing more CC, and in the opener of last game, it was exactly identical, except the fact that Raikou gets his sheep and Maro doesn't, and all of a sudden, that's going to put you massively on the back foot. So Ascendant just needs to clean that up a little bit, and they're definitely in it still.
Raikou's become terrifying, which is just insane that he's kicked up his intensity here. Will it be enough to get Method Black on match point here? Gates open.
We may be fighting in the sewers, but it may as well be Mount Olympus, as both of these teams are basically gods of their craft on this rogue mage priest. Radopi looking to set up some shields. Maru and Raikou are obviously going to be the primary targets for each team to race down. They're currently invisible to each other, but that timer is ticking down. How are they going to pull this? They run right across each other. They don't even see each other. Waz is waiting. Chaz is ready on the bottom. Acro's moving in for a kidney shot. Raikou is going to open up with some frostbolts, build up the icicles, kidney shot onto Chaz. No kidney shot just yet onto Radopi, as they are a little bit behind here. Raikou gets caught out first. Temp shield is over. A kick onto Raikou. There's going to be a lot of damage potentially following that up. Maybe even switch over to Waz. He's down at half as well. They do make the swap onto Waz. He triggers immediately and vanishes out.
Yeah, that was very nicely done by Ascendant. They couldn't catch Raikou, so they make the swap onto Waz, get his trinket, get some defensive cooldowns rolling. Ascendant doing a good job there. Radopi already trading out his trinket. Chaz, though, still has that available. Waz now getting polymorphed up. You can see Maru doing a better job in this game, controlling it out, stalling out some of these ghosts coming in from Method Black. Waz now charging in, gets the full kidney shot onto Radopi. Chaz moves in for the fear. Nice Ring of Frost coming in from Raikou, and now Maru in a situation where he's in a lot of trouble, but they make another swap over onto Waz. Can they get the second trinket if he even gets out of it? Looks like he's going to be completely fine. Maru's the one who's taking most of the damage, and the second ice block is forced out. Can they find the Master Spell? No, Acro is there for the kick.
Nice interrupt by Acro, but they're spending so much time going after Waz that they've got no blocks from Raikou. Now ice block over for Maru. Waz drops the smoke bomb, looking for the kill. Penances are flying in. Waz goes for a DR cheap shot. Is it long enough? It might just be. Life grip off the Frost Nova. Maru trying to kite away, but a full poly sneaks in. The back of this defensive Ring of Frost, but Raikou in trouble as well. Ice blocking up 5% to deny the Evan Bolt. Temp shield's going to go off, but Raikou can still fall. Maru's on 10%. He might have to use his second ice block. Both priests are no longer crowd control. Maru trades out the second block, but at this point, both mages are out of blocks. Chaz caught into a psychic stream. Maru could possibly end this. Evan Bolt being casted, not able to follow it up. Waz denies it. Maru trinkets and blinks away. Radopi caught into a kidney shot. Raikou gets denied on the poly by Acro. Acro, MVP this game to stop the setups from Raikou.
Yeah, Raikou had to use his cold snap there to get that ice block off. So now Ascendant in a position where they basically tied up these defensive cooldowns. Full polymorph now secured over onto Chaz, but Raikou just polymorphing up Maru over and over and over, slowing down this go, and they really weren't able to get too much. A nice sap coming in from Waz. That was huge. If he can reconnect onto Maru, they can get the CC onto Radopi. That's going to be a huge lead. Follow up polymorph over onto Acro, but Radopi just positioned so far away that Method Black wasn't really able to capitalize.
Ooh, nice preemptive psychic screen, but an instant dispel from Chaz. Both priests caught in the crowd control. Anyone could fall at this point. Raikou's polyed on his temp shield. There's no follow-up. They don't land the polymorphs. Waz is getting cheap shot away. Maru looking for an Evan Bolt. Raikou blinks in, and now Waz actually gets swapped to by Acro for just a couple of seconds. I can imagine they want to get back on the mages. Radopi caught into the full polymorph. Maru on the run. He's preemptively kiting away from Waz. If Waz makes it back on target, Maru is just going to disappear. Waz gets dispelled into the Frost Nova. Might even look for a swap to Acro. I don't think he wants to. The Psychic Scream is over. Now Radopi needs to dodge the poly. He manages to get put into a half-yard one. Radopi is now going to be at an advantage. Crowd control diminishing returns are over. Acro swamp though. He's going to survive. Radopi trinkets, power word, shield, life grip saves Acro. I can't believe this game is still going on. It's going to be so tense now. Chaz has the lead with his trinkets, but at any point an Evan Bolt can just erase one of their opponents.
Yeah, both mages have their icy veins available, basically mirroring each other. There's a full blind onto Chaz. He trinkets out. Cheap shot onto Raikou. He's going to be taking a little bit of damage as Maru pops that icy veins. Big burst. Kidney shot now onto Chaz. Do they have the follow-up CC? Full blind on Radopi. Acro has no trinket. They can find him. Another zap onto Acro, but it broke. Maru now could be in some trouble. They make a huge swap onto Waz. No trinket available. Evasion is up. Has the vanish in 2 seconds. Can he hold on for 2 more seconds? Gets the vanish off to stay alive.
Oh, close call for Waz. He stays alive, though, as both teams battle this out. No blocks. Trinket available for Raikou, though. He can trinket blink away from a stun lock. Maru will have his shortly. Kidney shot on Radopi. They need to get a poly off this. Everyone in crowd control. Will they find it? No. Radopi's going to get out of the stun now and easily allow Maru to survive. Maru did burn his trinket, though. Acro locked down. Radopi not able to dispel. Rapture available. Raikou now caught into the stun. Chaz into the full polymorph. No premonition there. Raikou trinkets and blinks away from Acro. Acro right on his back, though. Temp shield preemptive. They're going to have to race against it. Lights Wrap connects, but it's not enough to race the shield. Temp shield should heal Raikou quite a bit. Chaz still caught in crowd control, though. If Maru can connect an Evan Bolt, he's not in line of sight. Raikou trying his best to line of sight, but there's really nothing left. He blinks out the smoke bomb. 1 second away, but an offensive cloak of shadows allows Acro to stay on target and pull this series back 1-2.
Oh, that was so nicely done. Waz was almost there to peel that entire go, but Maru did an excellent job landing that full polymorph and putting them into that 1v3 situation where Raikou really couldn't do too much.
That was the thing that was so insane, right? There were so many good goals on Ascendant side, period, but does it all come down to what you were asking for? Was it Morrow stepping up and being able to be the playmaker?
I think Acro stepped up massively in this game. He stopped so many setups. It felt like Acro really kept them alive for a really long period of time, and I think both rogues played super phenomenal in this game. But yeah, there was a couple of times where Morrow definitely stepped up, like here for example, where they have that nice cross CC secured. And I mean, Raikou as well, look at that positioning, how he's hugging that wall while Morrow is in that Nova to avoid the Ebon Bolt, pre-blinks out of it towards his healer. Raikou did a great job in this game too, but when both teams are playing this well, then you get those games where you get the second Icy Veins and you get those longer games, and not really the Tempo Storm games we saw yesterday, for example.
I feel like any other RMPs would just be dead in 30 seconds for both of these teams.
That's what happens.
These guys would obliterate anybody else right now.
It
would look like Tempo
so.
Storm. I mean, look what happened to Tempo Storm, right? They
farmed.
They're deleted out of the tournament. I don't even know what they're doing right now. It was like the end of Infinity War. It was
really packing their bags for the Summerland.
Poike, I don't feel so good. But ultimately, yeah, they are going to be going to that Summerland. That tournament, though, was just really rough. All of a sudden, Ascendant and Method Black, I think, have just kicked it up to a whole nother level. And not only with the Rogue Mage, I think that is the thing that's so scary about Method Black, and I wanted to bring up is, like, look, they have only gotten better on their Rogue Mage. They've only gotten better on their other compositions. They're one of the scariest teams in the world. They just are. If Ascendant makes those little tweaks, like, who beats them? If Ascendant's able to do the move strats, basically, and be able to fully utilize their Shadow Priest, we've already seen how big it is for the move in NA. What would Ascendant be weak to? It's kind of the question. We got to look at these guys globally. We know that both of these guys, they're basically playing for seeding, and they're playing for guaranteed spots at BlizzCon right now, because of course we do have that third season, right? Also, there's a little bit of an extra cash prize at the end of this tournament. But they're really thinking about BlizzCon, not the next LAN. Think about them globally right now. What do we think that these teams can do? Let's talk about Ascendant for just a second.
I think we can remove all of the math and just say that these teams want to be the best, period. Doesn't matter if there's money, doesn't matter if there's points. It's pride on the line for both of these teams. Like, Waz has been working up and up every single year to get to the point where he can take it. This year, he's got probably the best roster he could have ever possibly built to do it with. Ratify as well as a new up-and-comer. Like, both these teams just want to be the best, period, regardless of what the reward is.
Oh, I agree with that 1,000%. I mean, how hard do you think it really was for Raikou and Waz to make that initial change in roster? Not only is it difficult because you're leaving the people that you've played with for years, it's also a little nerve-wracking, right? That was a good roster. That roster was so close to doing it so many times. Yes, last year was rough for that old roster, but now they make that move to win, and it has been paying off.
Well, we said last year for them, if they didn't win regionals and win BlizzCon that year, they were never going to win because they were the top of the ladder. 15 different compositions that they played. They practiced 12 hours a day. They just looked like they were the team that was going to win everything. They ended up not even qualifying for BlizzCon. So at that point, you kind of have to make some adjustments. When you have done all of your homework, you've prepped as much as you possibly can, and you just aren't getting the results. I mean, at that point, I mean, you can either repeat the same thing or try to change it up. I think they made the right call.
They definitely made the right call. I mean, look at where they're at right now. And ultimately with Swapsy being available as well, it's just such a crazy, crazy pickup. They are a nuts team, and Ascendant proving that they can be. That's the thing that's so cool about Ascendant, though. They do it with one main comp. It's so great to see. Obviously, we got to give Method credit where credit's due, the fact that they can do it with multiple compositions. But Ascendant, how do you think they stack up against the other teams that they're going to see at this LAN, especially with a composition that we know is a difficult composition to play on LAN?
Well, I think, are we talking about the NA teams now? Because I feel
all
like,
of them.
How does the NA team stack up? Ascendant should be how you phrase the question. I think Ascendant are going to do fine at LAN. I mean, they haven't had too much LAN success. Of course, Acro not being able to attend to the spring finals made a pretty sizable dent in their journey. But I think that Ascendant, if they can overcome the fact that they're playing RMP on LAN, they can definitely do great things. But that's the hurdle, right?
Big if.
No add-ons. It's a big if, yeah.
And also,
I wouldn't put them in my top for the summer finals for sure.
It's like the cursed comp on LAN, honestly. It really is a difficult one to play. We don't often see its full potential ever come out on LAN.
The only time we've really seen Rogue Mage be ultra successful is at last BlizzCon, where they were playing the Assassination with the Arcane specialization, and that is a lot different than the Subtlety Frost, because you're not really polymorphing on DR and having to get the stun setups.
Yeah.
That crisp CC we normally see from RMP, that's more of just do as much damage as you can, try to outlast, try to survive, and that's what we saw from the team known as Tempestorm now last year at BlizzCon. So yeah, it can be very difficult. And also Acro, being sort of a new player in the scene, is kind of a question mark for me. Sometimes we see these players really rise to the occasion and play phenomenally. Sometimes we see them sort of fall short. So I think
tough job.
Acro being sort of the playmaker for their team, he's going to have to do a phenomenal job if they want to see success.
And it's an even bigger question mark with, obviously there are so many question marks there, but not getting to see that at the last LAN, like that is just about the biggest question mark that you could have in the entire room. But we're sitting right now at this series 1-2, and you have to think about how they are going to play when they get to that LAN. They both have already done it. And you have to think about this series as well, and this is just a very difficult one to predict. Method trying to get onto match point, Ascendant trying to tie up the series. I think that most likely we're going to make it all the way to a Game 7. Maybe we close this one out in 6, but I think most likely, Zico, we're making it all the way to that Game 7.
Yeah, we're going to have... I mean, that's what typically happens when we get Ascendant versus Method Black. One of the teams gets a bit farmed in the start, then the team that's getting farmed usually comes back, and then we get a Game 7. That's kind of how the script works, and that's kind of what production is telling me in my ear right now. So they're telling me don't spoil the script, but that's pretty much what's going to happen. Game 7, we're going to see... I don't know who will take it. I think Method Black looks a little bit hungrier today.
I mean,
they look a little bit pissed off today, actually. Raikou looks a bit pissed off today.
I mean, after getting completely stomped down to the lower bracket, having to play that extra game to get here, yeah, I think Waz is probably a little bit angry, as Supati said, and also Raikou just looked absolutely phenomenal.
I feel like the only person that's not angry is Chaz. I feel like his infinite duration smile, just infinite smile on Chaz, no matter what.
I'm trying to imagine Raikou and Waz just sitting there. Let's go.
Just yelling at each other like an old married couple.
Exactly. And Chaz is just going for fear.
But I think that's like a very good counter to them. Honestly, if you talk about them as people, they are just the definition of an old married couple. Like the way that Waz and Raikou interact with each other.
Sure.
It's so funny to actually see them, especially at LAN. That was one of the things that I missed the most with Raikou not being here, is actually seeing the two of them go back and forth. They are just what every rogue mage should really be as far as personalities and as far as friendship goes. But will that be enough to bring them on to match point? Ascendant finally made their stand in game number 3. Game number 4 is now underway.
Every single game between these two Titanist teams is like a full-length, action-packed movie punched down into 3 minutes of time. If you like, your heart rate just gets raised instantly when these two teams go against each other. The electricity is just visible.
Yeah, it is actually insane to watch these two Titans go head-to-head. Waz and Acro, they're going to be positioned so far away from each other. Look at this. Waz is going to be sitting back. I guess both rogues want to let the other rogue open. Maybe they can get the follow-up cheap shot onto them and sort of delay the go. Ratify's had enough. He's going to be moving in onto Chaz right now, getting in combat. And as all 6 members look to get into the action.
All right, Mara with Icy Veins immediately pulled. Raiku's going to attempt shield before it hits him. Now he's trying to reverse with an Icy Veins of his own, attacking Maro. Ratify got into a kidney shot, into a psychic screen. This is a great crowd control chain from Method Black. Maro's temp shield goes off, but now it's over. Waz is digging in and gets a block with tons of damage.
Yeah, Maro actually using that ice block. I think he might have been able to hold on to that. Ratify was just getting out of the crowd control, but you can't really blame him. Raikou getting locked out, and Maro goes for the Ebon Bolt, gets kicked. Waz making the hero play. That was a nice smoke bomb coming in, but Raikou actually ice blocked anyways, so that was very unfortunate.
Yeah, Raikou trying to make something happen here. Chaz, though, caught into a Psychic Scream as Ascendant looked to strike back. Raikou could possibly still be on hypothermia. Will he be able to survive long enough? Chaz connects Power Word Shield. Raikou lining up an Ebon Bolt. Gets denied by Acro. Now Ratify still caught in a Psychic Scream. Triple crowd control. Maro all alone in the middle of the map. Chaz, instant Master Spell. The crowd control is faded on Ratify. Penance stabilizes Maro, but now advantage is in favor of Ascendant with an Ice Block lead.
Yeah, Raiku's in a good spot in this situation. Maro looking stabilized, but this is what we see. Raikou, he's just going to be spamming out the polymorphs onto Raikou, denying the Frostbolt spam, not allowing him to build up damage, not allowing him to get that CC rolling, which is just so important. Now kidney shot on the Chaz. He uses his human rage to get out of that. Morrow gets locked out. Raikou to the cheap shot as well. Both teams looking to get their crowd controls going. There's a full fear on to Ratify. Nicely done by Chaz. Raikou, though, taking most of the damage in this situation. Frozen Orb gets dropped out by Morrow. Full blind onto Acro. Waz with the defensive blind to keep Raikou alive.
To try and hold on to that ice block lead. Looks like that defensive blind into Sap will allow Raikou to hold onto his block, but now Ratify doesn't need to use his trinkets, so Ratify can just use that. Maybe it'll open up a win condition later on. We see a kidney shot onto Ratify. No follow-up, though, from Raikou. He doesn't want to blink in aggressively. Acro's actually looking for a re-stealth. He's going to find a re-stealth. Maybe open on Waz with no trinket, but he gets blizzarded out of stealth. Nice play there from Raikou. Acro crossing the map for a kidney shot onto Chaz. Who is he going to go after? Immediately, though, Raikou just blinks across the map. Ice Nova on Acro to deny a Shadow Step. Raikou sees Chaz in a Polymorph, so he's just going to line of sight Acro, maybe look for a Frost Nova. He catches him, but Waz catches Acro. He's overextended behind the pillar. He got baited. He got baited by Raikou, and they punished him for it.
That was so beautifully done. Acro goes for the Shadow Step kidney shot onto Chaz, chases Raikou behind the pillar, and you can just see Waz, if we see the replays, just looking for that target, finds it behind the pillar. They take him down. That was so beautiful.
This is one of those series where obviously you do see how evenly matched they are, but you're starting to see just Method really showing off just how powerful the team they are. They are finding kills, they are making scenarios, and they are executing on them.
Yeah, that was great to watch. I mean, that all got set up because Raikou takes Acro out of stealth on that re-stealth, so he can't go over to Chaz invisible and then use his step to get to Raikou. Instead, he has to step to Chaz to get that kidney, and then he has to run to Raikou, which gives Raikou that telegraphed feeling right here. And you can see there is the Ice Nova, and then you can see Raikou is behind the pillar, and Waz is realizing, oh, we can actually kill Acro right here. He steps to Acro before he gets around the pillar while he is still in stealth, so Acro cannot see him do that. And then there it is, kidney shot, orb, and so much damage. And I mean, you can kind of tell from that sprint as well that I'm pretty sure this was Waz's idea. As soon as he saw Acro is just running like that, he's like, hold up, we can kill that guy. He has no trinket. Do you have orb? Yeah, okay, let's go.
What was so cool about it is, like you said, he got the Shadow Step and he actually waited for him to move behind that pillar, and then at that point, when you're kidney shot behind the pillar, Ratify is like, well, good game. You're not gonna live that.
Yeah, there's just nothing. It's so beautiful, and yeah, that is the thing too that you have to keep in mind. That Zico said, obviously they can't see all of that happening like we can. We have full information of what's going on.
Waz like faked them out. He was running to Ratify, vanished, then turned around, and I think Ratify was expecting to get kidney shot, which meant he ran even further away. There was no way he could get back there. It was just set up, start to finish. They had that plan.
Exactly. I mean, it's such a mind game, right? Because you expect the kidney on Ratify to control him to prevent the healing, but you know what's going to stop all the healing? A pillar. So he gets him right behind the pillar, and that really is just a beautiful play. And the second that he sets it up, as soon as he gets the Shadow Step and then into that kidney, there is actually nothing that you can do. And now all of a sudden we find ourselves on match point. A beautiful play set up by Waz once again, starting to see. I mean, every single game.
The Waz effect.
The Waz effect.
The Waz effect. Waz is leaking. So the
spilling all over the arena.
Oh, God. Okay, so Ash Main Small going to be the final arena that Waz is going to spill all over potentially. This could be the last one for this series. It could determine our victor of the final EU Cup of the season, EU Cup number 3. How crazy is it that we've already seen 6 EU Cups this year, already seen a LAN, and we still have some more before BlizzCon actually pops up. And it is going to be another mirror. We expect to see this all the way through. I feel like it's really fun to actually go through every single game and be like, okay, who was the MVP? It's like Morrow, Acro, Waz, Raikou. It's like, wait, we've literally seen everybody turn up depending on the game, and that shows. That's all it takes. One person to make the play in this matchup. Everybody's essentially playing perfectly, but that one little millisecond, that one little pixel, that one little atom gets caught out by one of these phenomenal players. These are truly 8 of the best players in the world. We get to see 6 of them, and this could close it out, but we could also go all the way to Game 7 still. Like, there's no counting out Ascendant, especially when they get to play these mirrors.
Not to mention that, like, this is the grand final, but we still have a tiebreaker after this. So, like, the hype doesn't end.
We're not done. That's the crazy thing. I actually think the next matchup's probably even more hype. Like, this is really exciting. Like, we are figuring out who's going to win the third EU Cup, and we're doing it in a full mirror. It's a rematch, and it looks like it's going to be a different result than what we saw in that first matchup. But then after this, we actually figure out who we're going to see in the LAN, which is coming up really soon, and it is I believe it's the final land until BlizzCon, right? So it's so crazy to actually still be figuring that out. EU, it's come down to tiebreakers. Again, is Reformed going to go, or is it going to be XRB? But first, we got to figure out who's going to take this one. And we got this win rate as RMP. Ascendant, 50%. I mean, that pretty much means that they have a 50% win rate, right? That's pretty much what that says there, right? Because they whip out the Shadow Priest once or twice, and it does well for them. But Method having that higher RMP win percentage.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing a good job. Right now, they're up 3-1 in this series, and I could easily see them closing out this last game and it not going to a Game 7. I feel like Ascendant's going to have to really step up because the Method Black seems to be on fire.
Yeah, the total head-to-head is 20-15 is what I have just heard, with Method coming out on top, Zico.
Yeah, I mean, wait, between RMP mirrors then, or are we counting the 3-0 for Ascendant?
Overall, between these two teams playing against each other.
That's crazy. I think that, I mean, Ascendants, they're still in it, but right now, I feel like they don't have that much that they're worried about. I mean, sure, there's obviously seeding going into the semifinals, but the seeding is not going to get affected whether or not they get first or second here. So it's only really the prize money. They're doing really good on points as well. So I think Ascendant is just kind of turned off at this point. It takes a lot.
Well, they also need the points for BlizzCon, though. They want to try to ensure that this has been a streaky team. They really do want to get those points here. And the prize money is definitely nice, but insta.
Waz gets the sap on Acro. He's going to Shadow Step Kidney. He's going on to Ratipie, maybe. No, he's trying to bait him. He gets the Vim, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. Waz is just going after everyone. They might go for an all-in on the healer. Ratipie's really not responding. Rapture Archangel at the final second will allow him to recover. I don't know what Waz was thinking there. He just went wild. At least they get the Rapture out of that.
Well, he sapped Acro and then actually Shadow stepped over and sapped Maro as well. Waz getting swapped to. He trinkets out immediately. Still a lot of damage over on Raikou. He gets stabilized instantly. Icy Veins available for him. He's trying to get some pressure now onto Maro. That was nicely done by Waz, getting the trinket from Ratipie very early on.
All right, Waz caught in apologies. We see a smoke bomb dropped and Raikou explodes. That's going to be an ice block. No Mass Dispel. It's denied by a kidney shot. Raikou cancels it to go for a poly. He's going aggressive, gets an ice block of his own. Chaz can't Mass Dispel. He's caught into a stun. Raikou is now dangerously low on hypothermia. Chaz triggers out of the blind to also get a Psychic Scream, which is now going to put Mara on the back foot. They're on match point. Chaz gets cheap shot away. Light's Wrath is going to connect. Lots of damage. Life gripped onto Maro. Trying to stabilize. Acro locked down. He's not able to support. Maro is slowly starting to recover, but he is now tied on ice blocks. Raikou still has his trinket. Maro, we're basically even at this point. Both mages are just reloading their icicles and frostbolt. We see a kidney shot onto Ratipie. Preemptive pain suppression and human racial to premonition the incoming polymorph, but he doesn't get it. Raikou's not able to get it though. Chaz into the poly. Waz gets swapped to. They need a miracle. They have to kill him here. He's on 10%. Will he fall? 1%. He does. Great job by Ascendant, striking back now, 2-3.
Ascendant has not shut off at all. I think that is the main thing to think about. They could easily catch fire here. They want to get to that Game 7. They want to ensure a strong amount of points so they can get to BlizzCon without breaking too much of a sweat. It is... That is the interesting thing about the land structure. The lands... The main thing that you really get out of the lands is money, right? Getting that #1 spot to BlizzCon is such a difficult thing to do. Reformed obviously does get the first one, and we're going to see that second one shortly when we get to the next land, but you cannot say, okay, what's our game plan? Okay, we're just going to win the land and we're going to get a ticket to BlizzCon. You only get to do that twice throughout the year. Only 2 teams get that way. You need to be a consistent squad who's bringing down points.
Yeah, you need to be consistent throughout the entire year, and that's really how the structure works.
Yeah, I mean... It just comes down to you have to be performing consistently well in each and every season, and that's the tall task here, because if your comp gets nerfed or if anything changes in the meta, you have to be ready to adapt to that on the fly, and it can be tricky to do. I mean, Ascendant, for now at least, manages to close the gap a little bit here in this series, making it 2-3 after they finally take down Waz. And Waz and Acro both seem to be targets that more often than not actually go down in these mirrors.
Well, I think another thing too is it comes down to being consistent and also having momentum. right? You want to have momentum moving into the LAN. If these are the teams that are top in Europe, I mean, Europe's obviously a very strong region. It might be the teams that are top in the LAN tournament as well. So having momentum in an RMP mirror like this is obviously going to be super beneficial.
I feel like Waz in that game was just trying to make a montage with that opener. Just a sap on the rogue, shouts at Vanish, tap the mage, open on the priest, and he was hoping to like 100-0 him and put that into a montage video later. And I think it might have been too overboard. Like he went, the Waz effect was a little bit too much in that game. He was trying to do too many things.
It's the part of the montage where it's just like the songs are trying to like, wake me up. The screen starts shaking. Oh man, those are the days. But
it's like well, we've seen in the past what happens when a rogue saps another rogue. Normally, in the past it's been a huge deal, but lately, like Zico said, it's not really the biggest deal. So maybe they figured, you know what? If we get the sap on the rogue, then we can open on the priest, force the mage out of his invisibility. Because what's the other option? You sap the rogue and then you wait for the mage and invisibility and you don't really get anything out of that. So maybe not the worst decision. They did manage to get something from it. And
I actually want to bring up something that Zico said a little while ago before we started talking about that awesome montage video that Waz was trying to edit there for his YouTube channel. And the main thing that I do want to say is we kind of see a situation where you talk about consistency between these teams, right? Consistency is definitely important now because the biggest meta change ever is going to be happening after this season. Like all of a sudden, who knows what could really happen, which teams are going to be rising to the top. There's no surprise that BFA could dramatically change which team does have that crown. So you got to be able to do it here. And that's one of the other reasons that these next couple of games are going to be so important, because you want to have those points. You want to store up for them just in case winter isn't kind to you and you actually do get over to that whole different meta, that entire different battle.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta bulk up on those points before you hibernate. Essentially, when winter comes, that's pretty much what it comes down to, right? I mean, Method Black, out of these two teams, Method Black for sure is the one that's gonna be going to BlizzCon. Like, they are the top point earner in the world. Last season, they had the most amount of points. This season, they have the most amount of points. Next season, they could have a terrible performance, and most likely, they have a pretty good shot at still going to BlizzCon. Ascendant, they were 3rd seed, I believe, last season, and this season they are 2nd seed, so a little bit better, but still they're gonna want to keep that consistent performance up, especially now that there's more teams in the mix. Last season it was only the XRB, Method Black, Ascendant, and then Reformed, and now you added in Tempo Storm into that mix as well as one of the top earners. All of a sudden, there's more competition that way.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Ascendant for some reason ended up having a composition that just didn't float and they didn't make it to top 8s, all of a sudden, if you see new teams grabbing those points, there is, in theory, a way that they don't qualify. I think Method Black could just straight up not show up to a 3rd season after the performance that they've ran so far in Season 1 and 2, and they would be confident. But here, they want to prove just why they have been that top-reigning team. Will they be able to take it here on Tolvaron Arena, or will Ascendant be able to tie up the series?
I mean, the Waz effect is a result of raw talent and hours of dedication and hard work, but I think it might be a little bit too much from that start of the last game. Waz was just trying to do too much all at the same time, and maybe it could have worked. They could have taken Ratipai down. He took the shot, but I think he's going to be dialing it back here for this game.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that decide to open up once again. Double Frost Nova coming in from Raikou. Very nicely done. Now Waz basically can do whatever he wants. There's the full kidney shot over onto Chaz. Waz moves in, gets the cheap shot on Maro, looking for the kidney shot onto Ratipai, but Ratipai doing a good job with the line of sight. Banner sap now onto Chaz. Big swap onto Waz once again. Ascendant really exploiting these swaps onto Waz, making him very scared.
Oh, a swap now onto Raikou. He trinkets. Will he have to block as well? He temp shields, but he gets cheap shot onto the trinket. Tons of damage. Temp shield explodes. Manages to be enough. Ratipai caught into a Psychic Scream. It's still match point for Method Black as Maro dips inches low. Could be an ice block, and yes, it will be. Ratipai penetrating into that. Will be able to stabilize him. Maro cancels the block to try and polymorph off the mate. Trying to get a frozen orb reset. The smoke bomb got life grip. The smoke bomb got life grip from Chaz. Sick play.
Yeah, that was so nicely done. Waz didn't have his trinket available. Ascendant really trying to capitalize on that, but like you said, really good read there from Chaz. Now a kidney shot onto Ratipai. Is there going to be any follow-up CC as Raikou pushes in? He gets interrupted by Maro. Very nicely done. Raikou is going for damage now. Huge burst over onto Maro, but Ratipai not in any crowd control. Maro should easily get top. And now Acro's looking to strike back with cheap shot on Waz. Cheap shot onto Raikou.
Oh, he's
no CC.
Raikou blinks through Maru and stopped the Ebon Bolt from going off. That was a nice play from Raikou. He's up 1 block and it's match point. This is looking great for Method Black. Are they maybe going to make a swap to Waz? Waz has got his trinket. I don't think there's really any openings there. Method Black have basically secured a free ride, I think, to first place finish. Waz caught into a cheap shot. Chaz caught into a poly. They are trying to make the miracle swap, but Waz could reverse it. Acro trinkets but gets stunned on his trinket. This could be the reversal swap onto Acro. He's dipping dangerously low, but he gets a sap. Will he be able to follow it up with anything else? Doesn't seem like it. They switch back to Raikou. He's locked on Frost for 1 more second. He can trade it out now if he needs to. Doesn't look like he's going to have to, and they still keep that ice block advantage.
Yeah, Ascendant all 100% HP right now. Good damage over on the Method Black. Chaz finally being able to play a little bit of catch up here, but he's into the kidney shot. Waz now trinkets out of the cheap shot as they make another swap over onto him. Just wants to prevent these stuns, but still they're going for it. Cheap shot onto Waz, 50% HP. Chaz still caught in the full CC. Waz trinkets out of the polymorph. Waz in so much trouble, but ultimately able to vanish out. That was Chaz's trinket. They baited out.
He's trying to sap Waz and wait for the stun DR and sap his feint off. Unfortunately, Waz was dotted. The saps just break, and Acro's plan completely gets destroyed. Now Acro gets caught in a swap with a double psychic scream from Smoke Bomb, and Waz is looking for blood. Method Black are the EU Cup 3 champions, highest point earners, best team in Europe, and looking to prove that they are the best team in the world.
They've already done a pretty fantastic job of proving that. So dominant, like you have said. So many points accumulated. I mean, did not say that lightly. We all know my relationship with math, and I am fully confident they could just not play for an entire third of the year and they already have enough points to be going to BlizzCon. One of the most dominant performances we have ever seen across any format of World of Warcraft esports. The question you got to be asking yourself is, how are they going to be doing at LAN? Major congratulations though for Ascendant. They have already picked things up in a big way. They have looked phenomenal in this tournament.
Yeah, Ascendant has had a good tournament. Dropping to Method Black in the finals, not the worst result. They also took a series off of them in the semis. So, I mean, these two teams always butt heads and they always go back and forth between each other. So it's always a good show watching these guys play against each other. Ascendant, of course, also winning the previous tournament is gonna give them more than enough points to qualify for the summer finals, put them in a good situation for the rest of the year. And we gotta mention the fact that Method Black now has won, out of the last 5 cups, they've won 4.
But also think, if you just change one game in that mirror that they just were able to win, all of a sudden they would just win all of them.
Yep.
So it is really insane to see how crazy Method Black has been performing.
Have they made every single grand finals? I think they lost in the grand finals to XRB in cup number 1, and then they lost to Ascendant in the last cup, right?
Are we counting spring or just this season?
No, all cups we've had this year.
There was one weekend they didn't, right?
No, they haven't made every final.
They are super
They
close.
got 3rd in the first cup.
Okay.
Yeah, the first cup was their worst performance was their first cup, I believe.
Yeah, it was 3rd, 1st, 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 2nd, 1st. It's pretty good.
It's absolutely